So here's a question I have for you. Does it matter what soil you use? You hear sometimes people saying, hey, I like this soil, I don't use that soil. Never use this soil, I use this soil, and I couldn't grow anything. Does the soil really matter? Well, sometimes people use dirt and soil interchangeable. I'm gonna be typically really just using soil for this video, right? And soil is essentially the top layer of earth, and it's gonna be full of organic life and all kinds of organic matter, and it's gonna have nutrients to support plant life. Dirt is essentially just kind of dead soil. Think of soil that's been stripped of all of its nutrients and organic matter. That's essentially dirt, right? Now, when you're talking about good or bad soil, really all you're talking about is soil structure, right? And I'm not gonna get heavy into it because I'm no soilologist or any type of dirt doctor. And what I will do is put some links to some really good master gardeners and some really good dirt doctors who spent like years really intensely studying this. I'm gonna give you from 30,000 feet, high level view of soil. So, question, is there such thing as good soil, bad soil? Yes and no. What it really comes down to is this soil beneficial? Is it applicable? Is this soil best for the goal that you're trying to accomplish? So I'm at Home Depot, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you a few different types of soil, and then later on we're going to start talking about soil structure. So first of all, you got your topsoil. Now this is enriched topsoil, and topsoil is going to be kind of very much sandy dirt. It's not going to have a lot of nutrients, not going to have a lot of organic material. This is organic topsoil, so this is more likely some really ground up fine mulch and some sand mixed together. And sometimes you'll have topsoil that's composted with manure, so it's just dirt mixed with manure, composted, and this is a composted manure topsoil. Let's see what else we got. And then what I'm going to do later, I'm going to open up some bags and kind of show you some different types. Now this is in-ground garden soil. Now keep in mind, there's not a lot of difference between some of these other than the soil structure and how fine the mixture is. And you really didn't start getting all these different levels of types of soil until recently when people start gardening. So this bag is open. This is an all natural garden soil. As you can see, it looks a lot like mulch. It's just composted mulch. This particular version here is Kellogg's. This is in-ground garden soil. Let's see what else we can find. Now, it's going to vary from brand to brand as far as what's in the soil, whether or not it has peat moss, whether or not it's just all mulch, or whether it's not mixed with cocoa coir or vermiculite. Just all depends. Now, what I want to show you next, let's see. So I already talked about the garden soil. And you'll have like, in-ground, raised bed. And really the only difference is the consistency, the structure, and how much of, like how much of wood to soil to mulch to other things it has in it. Now, what I want to show you, this is potting mix. And this is a potting mix. Now, the purpose for the potting mix is going to be for potted plants, mostly indoors. You see this bag's already open. It's going to be lighter and fluffier, and it's going to be either cocoa coir or peat moss, depending on the brand, and it's going to have vermiculite so it can retain moisture. The potting mix is going to be a little bit different. Now, the mix is going to be a little chunkier, so it may have a little more of, wood chips and things like that in it. But again, this is all organic material, right? Cocoa coir, peat moss, wood chips, all organic material. Then you'll have actual potting soil. Let me see if I can find some potting soil. Potting mix. Usually there's some potting soil somewhere around here, but I don't see any. So the potting soil is probably on the other aisle. But the only difference between a potting mix and the potting soil is going to be a lot lighter, a lot fluffier. It's going to have more of the, okay, here we go. This is palm soil. So this is going to be lighter, fluffier, and it's going to have more of the cocoa coir or peat moss, depending on what it is, than the planting potting mix. Potting mix is going to be a little chunkier. Potting soil is going to be lighter and fluffier, and have better moisture retention and drainage. So again, you're talking about what's better. It's not so much as what's better, it's what's better for what you're trying to do. This is a planting mix right here. And again, as you can see, it really just looks like well composted mulch, which is not a problem, right? Some people will say, hey, I don't like it because all it is just sticks and woods. Sticks and wood is organic material. Eventually that will decompose and break down to nutrients and matter that will feed your soil. So if it sticks to soil, for me, that's not a problem. I'm gonna tell you what the biggest problem with bagged soils, and that's the problem with any bagged soil, is going to be, see if I can find a bag that looks kind of nasty and funky. Let's see. I don't see any yet. But the biggest problem is going to be with your bagged soils is how long has this soil been sitting up on these pallets? How long has this soil been sitting? Has it been rained on? The other problem is if it sits too long, you'll start getting infestation of termites, mites, all of the kind of pests. And what you end up having with the bag, you'll bring home a bunch of pests. And that's the same problem. See right there? You can tell that's been sitting there for a while. Same problem you would have with essentially any bagged soil. How long has it been sitting there? See, here's some enriched topsoil. See, you can see very sandy with a little bit of mulch, composted. And again, I would 100% use this in the garden. Would I use it for pots or potting indoor pots? Probably not. I use actual potting soil for pots that are going to go in the house. Mainly because moisture retention, also because I don't want to induce mites and stuff like that. And just depends on what I'm growing. See, what is this? This is a soil conditioner. Never used that before. It's a certified. It is a sustainable peat alternative. So you can see that bag's been sitting there, it's been rained on. Like I said, you'll start getting termites, mites, all other kind of pests. And that's really the concern that you'll have with any bagged soil. Now here is some just mulch. As you can see, some of your topsoil don't look much different than this. Again, not a problem. And I'm gonna show you why in a minute. Because mulch, guess what? You leave it long enough, it will decompose and turn into essentially some good soil. So if your potting soil looks like this, I wouldn't be concerned. You can still grow in it. Now, what you're going to have to do, we'll get to this later in the video, is amend it. Let's see what else we can find here. Okay, so here's the rest of their potting mixes. This is going to be really super light, really super fluffy. Like I said, it's going to be mostly either cocoa coir or peat moss. Same thing, potting mix. Sometimes you'll find some that say potting soil, and really the only difference is the consistency, how much perlite, how much cocoa coir, peat moss, and how much shredded mulch it has. You know, the ratio, essentially. That's really the only difference. But again, product placement, they'll try to sell you the same thing in 5 different ways, right? I made all of these from Miracle-Gro indoor potting mix to the blue bag to the pink bag. It's probably not a whole lot of difference. But they sell you, you know, same product and just kind of bag it up and call it different things. And essentially just, I get it, sales tactic, right? But most of that stuff, there's probably not a lot of different between one bag to the other. The only difference probably would make would probably be the acidic soil, one for citrus and things like that. It's gonna be a little more acidic. It's gonna have more peat moss and other things in it to make it acidic. That's probably gonna be really the only difference. So here's the example I was talking about: raised bed and garden soil. Let's see, this bag's already open. So if you really look at all these bags, man, it's not a lot of difference between all the different bags. Like I said, it's just marketing tricks. They're trying to sell you all the different stuff as, you know, as this one's better than that one. Really, you just got to figure out, am I growing indoors or outdoors? If I'm growing indoors, I want it to be lighter and fluffier. If I'm growing outdoors, it's not that big of a deal. And also, if I'm growing in containers, I'm going to need something with better moisture flow. In other words, I need it to not dry out too quickly, but I need it to not sop up and hold moisture. So you're going to want something with some perlite and chunkier organic material, or a little sandier for your containers, simply for water flow, adequate water flow. All right, so this is just plain Jane topsoil. Very sandy. Essentially, you could just call this dirt. They just use this just as fill dirt. Not a lot of organic material there, if any, to be honest with you. Few rocks, just sand. Now, would I use this? I absolutely would, and I'm going to tell you why a little bit later in this video, but you got to stick around. Again, my philosophy is I grab the cheapest thing possible. I usually like to come back during certain times of year to have this little spot back here, and all the open bags will be 50% off, $1 off, whatever. And whatever I can get for under $2, if I'm getting them in bags, that's what I'll get. This is mushroom compost. It's a lot lighter. Think of the texture of ground up leaves and ground up mulch, but really, really fine. Really, really fine. Think of it like leaf mulch. It's really the only difference with that. So again, a lot of these soils, you really only talk about the difference is consistency, soil structure, and texture. Here is just organic compost. You really look at it, it doesn't look much different than mulch. Just ground up a little bit more finer. And then here's the peat moss that's in a lot of potting soils. Very light, very fluffy. Some people don't like using it because it's not as sustainable. And I get it, right? To each its own. Alternative would be coco coir. However, again, for me, I use it. It's cheap, it works. Let's see what else. And this is just hardwood mulch. Doesn't look much different than most of your potting mixes. Now again, which one I choose? Whatever's on sale. If I have a large product, I'm going to the soil yard, compost yard, landscape yard, and grabbing it by the truckload or the yard full. If I'm just got some projects need to top off, I'm just going to grab a couple bags. But as you can see, all of these different types and names, and potting mix, potting soil, in ground, out of ground, up ground, down ground, can get really, really confusing. And what I want to do, I want to make this as simple as possible. Make life a whole lot easier. I believe in gardening smarter, not harder. Like a fox and not an ox. Now, I know I did say I was going to get into more of the soil structure, and it looks like we have just about ran out of time. So we're going to do a part 2 to this video. We're going to open up some bags. We're going to look around my garden. And we're going to kind of take a look at the different types of soil structure and consistencies, and see if we can kind of determine what works best for you. Is there such thing as good soil, bad soil? Not really. It's just soil that either does or doesn't meet the goal that you need, or soil that needs to be fed or amended, or soil that doesn't. Really what it comes down to. Again, gardening don't got to be complicated or expensive. Just got to get out and grow something.